This is Sports Charlotte, the podcast about sports in Charlotte. My name is Herb White. I'm editor-in-chief at the Charlotte Post. And this smiling young man is Cameron Williams, who is a staff reporter at the Post. It is August 8th, 2025.
Flying by.
Yeah. And we're going to talk some sports of the football variety. And there is plenty of it to be had.
That would be Americano.
Yes, American rules football. Preseason opener for the Carolina Panthers today against the Cleveland Browns. 7 o'clock kickoff, Bank of America Stadium.
Might be a little mushy.
Well, it won't matter. They're playing on turf anyway.
I'm talking about for the wet seats and everybody that has to fit their behinds in them.
Well, or you could stand.
Yeah. It's a preseason game. Who's standing all game for a preseason game?
Who's going to be there for a preseason game?
Not me.
Well, with the weather the way it is and all the other stuff. But still, the players and coaches will show up because they have work to do. And especially the Panthers. And I know nationally, everybody is talking about Shedeur Sanders getting the start for the Browns. Okay. But in the meantime, there's the Panthers to consider. And since we're in Charlotte, let's consider them.
Well, look, the way I'm going to view this game, all preseason games are over glorified exhibitions. We all know that. But what I want to see, and Dave Canales has already said, I believe it was last week, they're going to play their starters. I don't know necessarily how long they'll go, but we're going to see Bryce Young. We're going to see Tet. I know he's big on Tet.
Oh, yeah. Tetaroa.
And look, some of the videos that have come out of practice and seeing some of the things that he's been able to do, he hadn't made a believer out of me yet, but he's getting there.
Mm-hmm.
He has looked very impressive, and I've always voiced my concern about him playing for Arizona in the Pac-12 with no defense and him being a standout on a team with no other good receivers. We've talked about that before, but now he's in the NFL with the Panthers. Granted, take that for what it's worth, but he has proven himself at least in practice. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in a game scenario. I like the Panthers -6. I like that line a lot. And these over-unders have been so low for last night's games, for the Hall of Fame game. Take the over 32.5 and run. All 3 games last night and the Hall of Fame game, they went over their total. So there have been a lot of scored in the preseason, probably because they're playing some starters.
And no defense, or not as much.
Yeah.
And to me, I have no doubt about Tetaroa and McMillan.
Mm-hmm.
If Bryce Young is halfway decent, he gets some time to throw the ball, they will do some good things. Carolina's season is going to be made or unraveled by defense. And that is what bears watching. What is that front 7 looking like with those major changes at linebacker? And with Derek Brown back in the fold on the defensive front and some of the new acquisitions that have been made, what does that unit look like once it's cut down to a certain level? Because obviously you have 90 players right now. You've got to get down to a 53. What's the best fix, the best mix there? And then the secondary, which on the face of things, with that 4-person starting group, looks like it could be pretty good. But we all know that in the NFL, people are going to get hurt. And J.C. Horn has already started his thing by getting into a traffic mishap and requiring stitches on his thumb. And he's being held out for today. Hopefully that's the worst thing that'll happen to him this season. But given his history, you just can't tell. No. So to me, defense is what bears watching even more than the offense.
Fair enough. We'll agree to disagree. But look, I'm wanting to see how this offensive unit mesh is. Look, the defense is going to be what it is.
But they were historically bad last year. You need to fix that in order to have a fighting chance.
Well, then that's why you should have drafted defense first. But don't get me down that rabbit hole again.
Well, you can always outscore folks, but it's not a very good formula for winning titles.
No, and I don't see. The Panthers are going to have to win some of these games with defense. So you do bring a good point there. So overall, excitement level around an 8. It's preseason.
Okay,
it's preseason, good. So it knocks it down a notch or two. But look, football's back. That's what raises it up about 5 notches right there.
That's the main thing.
It is back, and I'm looking forward to wagering on it.
But let me ask you this. One of the things that people noticed last year, and I think was detrimental to the Panthers and their development as a group, was Dave Canales, the head coach, opted basically to sit his starters throughout the preseason, except for 1 or 2 series in the final game of the preseason. He's turned that on its ear this year, and he's going to play his starters early. Maybe not often, but early. Is that going to produce improved results once the regular season kicks off?
If they don't get hurt.
Well, that can happen anytime.
I'm just saying, I would be very cautious with how long you run them. That's my only thing. Is sometimes you see coaches have that philosophy. Well, we want to see what our starting group looks like, but you'll play them for a whole half and you'll get some guys banged up.
Or worse.
2 series. I want to see Bryce and the whole starting gang for 2 series. After that, hit the showers or the sidelines. I don't want to see them trot out there for a whole quarter. Well, I mean, maybe a quarter, because sometimes you don't see but 2 series in a quarter, but definitely not a whole half.
A lot of times teams will give their starters that run first and second preseason game. The finale, that's for guys who are on the bubble, who are really fighting to try to stay on the roster or really show some skills that the other 31 teams in the league can check out and maybe acquire once they're waived.
Has that changed in the last, say, 10 or so years? Because I remember growing up as a kid, you wouldn't see your starters till like the last preseason game, and the reason they did that is because they want their starter to get some game reps right before the season starts. You would do all these, rookies and bubble guys and all this stuff early on, but then you'd see the starters late. It seems the trend has seemed to shift in the last little bit to where you're seeing starters early, and now, to me, it just don't make sense. You want your starters sharp towards the end of the preseason when the regular season is going to start versus at the beginning where they're going to have a couple of games off and then they could get rusty before the season starts.
And I think some of that is the byproduct of the NFL going to longer regular seasons, where now you've got the 17-game season and coaches are on different pages when it comes to roster construction. And what does that look like? If you have, let's say, the situation that the Cleveland Browns have, where you really don't know who your quarterback is going to be, even though you may be saying, okay, well, yeah, Joe Flacco, that's your job until somebody beats you out. Maybe that's the case. But in reality, folks are auditioning for that starting position. So the Browns will approach how they're going to play that offense differently than Carolina, because Bryce Young is the acknowledged starter. And you need to be able to have that mesh between that quarterback and those receivers and that line. So I think teams are more willing to adjust on the fly given the construction of their rosters.
Yeah. It was funny. I was talking with friends of the Post, Charlotte Sports Live anchor Gabe McDonald the other day, and we were talking about the quarterback room in Cleveland and how you've got Flacco, you've got Kenny Pickett, you've got Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. He was like, one of them guys is getting cut.
And they picked up a quarterback this week. Escapes my name. The name escapes me right now. but he used to play for the Packers, I think it was. And he's well-traveled, whoever it was. But anyway, you've got 5 quarterbacks in camp, and they really don't have an answer right now. So it's vital for Shedeur Sanders to have a good opening game, because if he has a good outing, well, it might just translate to something else down the road. And then you can start making decisions about the future, because do you come to the conclusion you really don't have any quarterbacks that are worth keeping around moving forward?
What's your favorite saying? If you don't have one quarterback,
You have none. And with what is expected to be a quarterback-rich college draft next year,
Yeah.
if you figure out none of these 5,
Tyler Huntley.
Tyler Huntley, yeah. And so if you decide none of these dudes can play, so we may as well just roll with somebody else, and if we're in position to get a really good quarterback, we can get a good quarterback. This is not even including Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, they actually have 6 quarterbacks.
It's like these people were 5. It's like the front office of the Browns were like 5-year-olds playing fantasy football. If I got all the good quarterbacks, no one else can have them.
Well, they've got quarterbacks now. Whether
they're good or not,
that's a question for a different day. But I think that is part of what the NFL has done in terms of roster construction based on a 17-game schedule. Back in the old days, there were instances where veteran players didn't play at all.
Yeah.
And now I think because you don't get the type of practice time that the league did 30 or 40 years ago, there isn't as much hitting. There isn't as much time out there to develop that skill set or even develop those young players. So it's a totally different thing now. And it is what it is. And based on how your roster is built out, it determines a lot about how you approach preseason.
Who wins and why?
I'll say Carolina, just because. The Browns have so many issues that they're trying to fix, starting at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin Stefanski usually is mentioned with some of the better coaches in the NFL. I think that he is a good coach, but if you're trying to start new with a rebuilt roster and still have questions at quarterback, that can't be so great. And depending on how many quarterbacks actually play for him tonight, it could get a little dicey. And I think Carolina at least has enough stability there and enough young pieces that can really contribute, I think, this season. I think the Panthers have a better roster, and that would, well, I guess that's an indictment of Cleveland, but at least Carolina has that going for them today.
Carolina, because Myles Garrett won't play the whole game, if at all.
Well, yeah, that's good news if you're a Panthers quarterback.
So that's where I stand on it.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got some more football to talk about.
Yep, of the high school variety.
The toughest conference in the state of North Carolina, the Meck Power 6, 7/8A.
Yeah, this is going to take some time to get accustomed to. Just when you can get accustomed to the old names,
yeah,
now you got some new ones coming in.
That's right. Independence, West Charlotte, Mallard Creek, Butler, Chambers, and North Meck.
Woo!
Wowzers.
Yeah, well, they've got a lot of history between them, a lot of state championships in recent years, and for the legacy programs, even more before that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot going on.
Think about, we're talking football, but from a conference perspective, think about what this does for basketball too. North Meck Chambers rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Independence, who's 6-7 years removed from a state championship, and they've been on the rise in recent years. West Charlotte, not too far removed from a 3A state championship 3 or 4 years ago themselves. This conference is going to be good in a lot of sports. Maybe not your golfs per se, but
the barbershop sports will be
they're
represented.
they're taken care of.
Yeah.
But from a football perspective, the way you got a 10-2 team with Independence last year, 13-2 West Charlotte, 10-3 Mallard Creek. Butler was a little shaky. Just they had some coaching turnover there, but Brian Hales is back, longtime coach at Butler. Took a year off. Was planning on retiring, from the coaching scene, but saw a need there. Came back. Chambers has been down as the last 2 to 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
But then North Meck, even they were 4-6, and they're not really known as a football school.
Not now.
They were, they once were,
Mm-hmm.
but they hadn't been in, I'd say, 15, 20 years.
That's a mighty long time.
A
lifetime ago for high school.
My point exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna pull the pin in the grenade. Who's gonna win this conference?
Well, let's see. Oh, so they don't have to worry about Huff being there.
No, they don't.
So I would, if I have to go on the limb today, I'd say West Charlotte.
Oh, wow, really?
By one game.
Okay.
By one game. Because if for no other reason, the machismo level at West Charlotte. Not to cast aspersions on anybody else, but after winning the state 3A title last year, the Lions are the cock of the walk. They are quick to let you know too.
That is true.
They are quick to let you know, and so I think that there's a certain machismo that goes along with that in terms of we've done it. We have the confidence that we know we can win big games on the biggest stage, and a lot of those folks are back. So I will give West Charlotte the slight edge over Independence, which I think is looking for
no love for the Mallard Creek Mavericks
to do what?
To win this conference.
It would be a great story, and it would be an upset, I think.
I don't know how much you're watching. This team, they've got pieces and they've got the schedule that is going to challenge them early. Not to say Independence it doesn't, not to say West Charlotte doesn't, but when you talk about a team that's facing the 4A runner-up last season in Rollsville, then they play Grayson out of Georgia, who is number 4 in the Max Prep's top 25 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They also play Myers Park and Cardinal Gibbons and Warwick out of Virginia, who was 10-3 and first in their region in Virginia last year. This is a team, this Mallard Creek team, that's going to be well challenged.
Mm-hmm.
They might not have the best record, but they could win this conference because when it comes to who wins the conference, it's only conference record that matters.
That's true. However, everything cuts both ways with this. If you play that daunting a non-conference schedule and things don't go well, it can also sink you for the conference season. And you're going to see good teams in the playoffs anyway. That goes without saying. So the folks that they're playing up front, yeah, that's great competition. And if it goes well, it'll certainly put you in position to go out and run the table in the Meck Power Six. Just trying to get that name squared away.
That's right.
But if that does not work out, then you could look at it as, how do we get the mojo going after going through such a difficult stretch? You don't know what you don't know until you actually go through and play. And everybody else in this conference is playing good competition too. So I'm not necessarily sold on Mallard Creek and the schedule being the ace that will get them over the top. I think in terms of talent and coaching, they certainly are capable, but they're going to have to beat some good teams in their conference just to get into that conversation.
You know what I want to see? I think it would be absolute cinema. Independence beats West Charlotte beats Mallard Creek beats Independence. 3-way tie for the top. Coin flip it.
I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
That'd be so awesome. Just coin flip that bad boy. No, I mean, I think that's a situation that's very. I mean, I don't want to say very likely because for an exact round robin, but I mean, it's happened before.
Mm-hmm.
It has happened several times before. I know one of the biggest complaints you hear out of Kannapolis near my hometown in Concord is when A.O. Brown Concord and East Rowan finished at the top of their conference in the late 90s or whatever, and they did a coin flip, and somehow A.O. Brown got the third seed, and they were better than the other two teams, but East Rowan got the top seed out of the conference in the playoffs, and then they were an early exit, and Brown and Concord made it further, and so I don't like the way they determine tiebreakers. I don't think it should be a coin flip method. I think there should be some kind of point factor in the points somehow. Like if West Charlotte beats Mallard Creek by 10 and Mallard Creek beats Independence by 14, Independence only beats West Charlotte by 7. Mallard Creek should be 1, followed by West Charlotte.
Among competitors in the same conference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This whole coin flip thing, it has screwed some teams over. I'll say that.
Yeah, but everybody knows the rules going in.
Yeah, well, change the rules. There's a lot of things that need to be changed in high school sports, and that's one of them.
Well, let me ask you this. So if you are assuming Mallard Creek, West Charlotte, and Independence are the 3 best teams.
They're a step on the ladder above.
Okay. Who out of that bottom 6 stands the best chance of crashing that party?
Butler. I think Chambers is one of those teams that it's just a year away.
Mm-hmm.
New coach, Captain Munnerlyn, former Panthers defensive back. Look, he knows ball, and there's no question about that. But I think having an established coach like Brian Hales come back and take over a program is going to prove to be, I guess, more of an immediate factor than having a guy that coached or that hasn't had head coaching experience at the high school level but has played pro ball. Sometimes it's just a matter of experience, and I think Butler could be the one to maybe, and I say maybe very loosely, maybe kind of get in there and shake up that bunch of 3, but it ain't gonna happen.
Okay, and I think your point about Captain Munnerlyn is appropriate in that high school football is a long way from the NFL, and coaching is a long way from playing.
Oh, yeah.
So the one thing that he will have that he can impart on his team is I've been in those shoes as a player. Now, the other side of that is this is his first time out as the leader, the CEO of a high school program. He's going to have to go up the learning curve hill himself in terms of not only learning his players, but learning how to deal with running the entire program himself. And so that's going to require some adjustments along the way. And not to say that he can't hit it out of the park the first year. It's just a bit of a lift, I think, because you don't know what you don't know. And that may pose a challenge for him. I think that Brian Hales returning to Butler positions the Bulldogs to knock on that door immediately because a lot of these kids played for him, if you're talking about a senior class, for instance. So it'll be like putting on a familiar pair of shoes. It fits somehow. And I think that this is the one instance where if anybody in that top 3 slips and falls, Butler's going to be there to pick it up.
Fair enough. I mean, that was essentially my assessment. But, yeah, I mean, we're on the same page there.
Well, but you said that there was the top 3 and basically everybody else.
You keep saying that phrase.
What?
Is that the way I think? Kind of. But if one of those teams slips up, I think Butler, like you said, will be that team that can go in there and claim third. Now,
or maybe even second.
You're reaching.
Well, I mean, but if you're talking about Mallard Creek, Independence, West Charlotte, if you can basically cover them with a blanket in terms of your expectations, who's not to say that if one slips, there could be a second one?
There could be. Look, this conference has some of the most, when it comes to coaches, they've got bright personalities.
They're very charismatic.
Very. Captain Munderland will find his way. Coach Hills maybe doesn't. He likes the charismatic, but he's vocal. He's loud. He's out there. Now DJ McFadden and Sam Griner, yeah, they're charismatic.
Yeah, they're out there.
But I'm thinking, think about the quality of coaches this city has. Not just in this conference. I've listed McFadden, Griner, Munderland, Hales, Tinsley at Mallard Creek, and obviously Darryl Vereen at North Meck. But then you've got Jonathan Simmons at Palisades, Greg Jachem at Audrey Kell, Wes Ward at Providence. I mean, I'm just shouting out all these guys. Kenneth McClamrock, Kenneth McClamrock at Rocky River, and then Tyson Fernandez starting up this was his first season as head coach at Valentine Ridge. And then you've got the Queen City, or the Athletic
Greater Charlotte Athletic Conference.
That's the one. That's the one. My gosh.
GCAC.
Yeah, I need more coffee. I mean, the coaches in that conference, from Deshaun Baker to Jupiter Wilson, B.D. Waddell, Chris James. I mean, there's great coaches all over this city, and there's great football to be played. I'm excited. I'm going to put a bow on it and just say that the season is only 2 weeks away. Let's get it going.
2 weeks.
Whew. Joe Evans, trying to make sure I hit all the coaches. I don't want to leave any out.
Yeah, because you don't want to hear from them.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Same reason I didn't want to hear from them with them headlines. Pick up a copy of the Charlotte Post and don't hang me.
Yeah, pick up a copy of the Post. No doubt about it. And to that end, go to our website, thecharlottepost.com, where you will find our high school football coverage, as well as the Panthers and Charlotte 49ers, Johnson C. Smith. We are Football 704, and we are covering it during the preseason, regular season, and postseason, because somebody is going to make it. And we're going to be there every step of the way.
Take me back to Raleigh or Chapel Hill, wherever they have it.
Yeah. And go to our website, become a subscriber, donor, or our newsletters are out there. We have a sports newsletter that comes out every Thursday. Subscribe to it. Get in on all of the stuff that we are producing in terms of articles, video, podcasts, etc. So that's at thecharlottepost.com. Do it right now. We thank you, and you will enjoy it. So for everybody here in beautiful Derrida with the Charlotte Post, I'm Herb. That's Cameron. Thanks for watching and listening.